Hey everybody, it's me, Timmy Flyers Guy, and welcome to another edition of Timmy's Nostalgia Showcase. I'm your host, Timmy Flyers Guy. In my last episode, I talked about the 64-bit Nintendo system, the Nintendo 64. Now I'm traveling back in time, and I'll be talking about a 16-bit system, and that system was the Sega Genesis. Now, the Sega Genesis came out in Japan and the UK in 1988, and it was known as the Mega Drive. It was called the Mega Drive. When it hit the States, it hit the US, the Sega Genesis was released in 1989. Now, there were two eras of the Sega Genesis. You had the before Sonic area, you had the before Sonic era, and the after, and then you have the Sonic the Hedgehog era of the Sega Genesis, 1991 through 1994. Or 95, considering that 3D Blast came out around 95, I guess. The Sega Genesis was an innovative gaming system. I didn't really know much about the Sega Genesis. In 1989, the Sega Genesis made its debut. And here's what the commercials for the Sega Genesis looked like in the before Sonic era.
Until now, if you wanted real arcade games, you had to go to the arcades. Now you don't.
Hey yo, $5.
Sega Genesis has changed all that with games that look, play, and sound like the real arcade games, because they are the real arcade games. From Sega, the masters of arcade entertainment. Now you can play Golden Axe, today's blockbuster arcade hit, at home with 2 new levels not even in the arcade game. Plus the hottest library of real arcade hits.
That's city.
But only if you own Genesis. From Sega, we bring the arcade experience home.
And so it was, late in the 20th century, that a pox fell upon the land, a plague of home videos that were limited in intelligence. There was brain drain, and terminal boredom swept the countryside. The maker looked down and was not pleased by what he saw, and said, "This is not good." And so it was, he brought forth Genesis, a system with twice the power, twice the intelligence, twice the challenge, twice the fun. Only a chosen few were called forth to experience this new dimension of high-definition graphics and stereo sound. And the maker saw what he had done and said, "Now that's not bad. Discover Genesis, and your world will never be the same."
So like I said, the Sega Genesis in 1989. In 1989, they were going for more of an arcade approach with their video games that year. As arcades in the 80s were still popular, in 1989, the Genesis wanted to bring arcade hits home, such as Altered Beast, Golden Axe, Forgotten Worlds, and all the great Sega Genesis games from 1989 into the year 1991. In the first years of the Genesis, the packing title for the Sega Genesis was Altered Beast. Sega Genesis had so many great titles, like I said. Altered Beast, Golden Axe, and many more hits that would come in the 90s. Altered Beast was a hit. People loved Altered Beast. But people, they wanted more of just an arcade game, an arcade system. They wanted something different. I mean, arcade games were awesome. They were great. 1989, the patent title was Altered Beast. Then, around 1991, sorry, that's a picture of my cat. Sorry about that. Around 1991, the Sega company wanted to add a new mascot to their company. Originally, Alex Kidd was the original mascot of the Sega Genesis and the Sega Master System. But in 1991, a new mascot would emerge, and that mascot was Sonic the Hedgehog. In 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog made its debut in 1991, and people were blown away by how amazing that game was. How great that game was. Sonic the Hedgehog was a hit in 1991. And in 1991, my brother finally got his very own Sega Genesis. When I was a kid, I first got a glimpse of the Sega Genesis. My brother would play it a lot, and me and my sister would play Sonic the Hedgehog. Sooner or later, I inherited my brother's Sega Genesis. It became a system that I really enjoyed playing. We had so many great games in 1991, such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Michael Jackson's Windwalker, Buster Douglas, Real KO Boxing, Pat Riley Basketball, Tommy Lasorda Baseball, and the hit beat 'em up Streets of Rage. And let's not forget the exciting puzzle game, Columns. A game that actually would compete with Tetris because if you wanted
Genesis does.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Columns free.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo?
Buy a 16-bit Genesis system between now and October 31st and get an extra.
Sega introduces Spider-Man with real web-slinging action. Genesis. New Streets of Rage. You control 40 incredible moves.
Gotta get Genesis like nothing ever before. Genesis is so much more.
Sega Genesis gives you more real villains, hot graphics, and killer two-player action.
Genesis.
It's a whole lot more.
Genesis. Gotta get Genesis.
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough that Sega Genesis has the most 16-bit games, but this new Sonic the Hedgehog, oh, he really does my doilies. They say he's incredibly fast. Well, what's the hurry, mister? And about his attitude. Smarty pants. Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario? Oh! Little brat!
Now, get Sonic free when you buy a Sega Genesis system at its new price of $149.99.
Okay, like I said, my first experience with the Sega Genesis was in 1991 when my brother brought home his very own Sega Genesis. During that time, my brother had he was into a lot of sports games on the Genesis. And I remember he got the Sega Genesis with the pack-in title, Sonic the Hedgehog. The not for resale version of Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it was the not for resale version of that. I'm not really sure. I think you bought it with the system. I forget. And I first started playing the Sega Genesis around 91. I was very curious to see what the system was all about. I wasn't really that good at Sonic 1, but I did manage to get past the first level. And I managed to get to the second level in a couple. So I was able to get to like the third level. But my sister was really good at Sonic the Hedgehog. She was able to get to the second level. I had a lot of great experiences with the Sega Genesis. So many great games. Around 92, there was another game that I was really into. And it was the sequel to Sonic the Hedgehog. And around 92, 93, the Sega Genesis campaign of blast processing was all over the TV. In 1992, another game I really enjoyed was Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage 2 was an awesome beat 'em up, similar to Final Fight, but way better in my opinion. Well, I'm not really sure. Both games were pretty good. Streets of Rage 2 was one of my favorite games at the time. In 1993, the game Mortal Kombat was released on the Sega Genesis. And Mortal Kombat was a very violent video game. On the Sega Genesis, you would have to put in a code to have blood in the game. And without the code, you didn't get the blood. So that was the infamous blood code in 1993. Around 1994, my Sega Genesis library expanded. As in 1994, I bought McDonald's, Treasure Land Adventure, and I also rented a lot of Sega Genesis games, such as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers games. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game, based on the series, and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game, based on the 1995 movie, released in the summer of 95. Not only that, 93, the Sega Genesis had a lot of great games. In 93, Street Fighter II, the new Challengers, made its debut on the Sega Genesis. That's right, the arcade hit, Street Fighter II. But it was Street Fighter II Special Champion Edition. In 94, I remember playing Street Fighter, the new Challengers, which was a remake of the first game, with a few new characters added into the roster. Another great game I liked was TMNT, the Hyper Stone Heist, a really fun video game. I even played the Sega Genesis way beyond its lifespan. In 1996, I first played the 1989 smash hit video game, Ghostbusters. And it was truly a fun experience. And I cannot forget about the smash hit game, Sonic and Knuckles, which introduced lock-on technology for Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and even Sonic 1. We put the Sonic 2 game in the lock-on Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, and you can play as Sonic, and you can play as Knuckles in Sonic 2. You can also play as Knuckles in Sonic 3 as well. If you wanted the definitive ending with Sonic 3, you would have to get Sonic and Knuckles. That's how you get the true ending of Sonic 3. Let's not forget, the Sega also had great hits, such as Comic Zone, a side-scrolling platformer / beat-em-up game. It has some puzzle elements as well. You should not forget about the Smash Hit game, Columns, and also Michael Jackson's Moonwalker as well. And another great game for the system would have to be the Tiny Toon Adventures. The Tiny Toon Adventures video game. I forget what it was called, but it was Tiny Toon Adventures Treasure Adventure or something. But that was a really fun game as well. You cannot forget the hit game Splatterhouse, a game originally on the TurboGrafx 16, made its debut on the Sega Genesis. And another game you cannot forget about, another great game, would be the S&K game, King of the Monsters. And also, a Sega Genesis game that I had great experience with. And in 1996, that game was called Six Pack. Six Pack was a compilation cartridge of all classic Sega games, such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Revenge of Shinobi, Columns, the original Streets of Rage, and also Golden Axe. And let's not forget the Smash Hit Hang On. The Sega Genesis was one of my favorite systems. One game, couple of games in Humble. There were some iconic sports games on the Sega Genesis, as well, such as Madden 94, NHL 94, and also the great wrestling games, such as Super WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania, the arcade game. You cannot forget the Smash Hit game, the Smash Hit basketball, the arcade game, NBA Jam, and also NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and the sequels to Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Three great fighting games on the game system. You also cannot forget about. You also not forget about games like Kid Chameleon, Rise Star, and Sonic 3D Blast. Although that wasn't such a big hit, but people liked it on the Genesis. Sega Genesis was an iconic gaming system for kids who grew up from 1989 into 1997. The Sega Genesis also had another model that premiered in 93-94, and that was the Sega Model 2 Genesis. The Sega Genesis will always be remembered as one of the best Sega systems, one of the best 16-bit systems for the Sega. Sega Genesis had so many great games, so many great memories, some good, some bad. I always remember going upstairs in my brother's room and playing the Sega Genesis, and just having a lot of fun with it. Many years later, we brought the Sega Genesis downstairs, and I played it downstairs. The games that I played in the last lifespan of the Genesis were Pocahontas, Ghostbusters, Cheeky Cheeky Boys, a WrestleMania arcade game. The Sega Genesis came out with another model around 96, 97, and that model was the Sega Genesis Model 3, a much smaller version of the Sega Genesis. This would be the last iteration of the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis lifespan lasted until 1998. The last game released on the Sega Genesis was Frogger. Sega Genesis was truly one of my favorite childhood game systems. In April of '96, my time with the Sega Genesis would come to an end, as I'd be upgrading in the 32-bit, as I would be trying out a new system, and that system was the Sega Saturn. So in my next episode, I'm going to be talking about the Sega Saturn. The Sega Genesis will always be remembered as one of my favorite systems. The downfall of the system would have to be Sega Genesis making the add-on, the Sega CD, which was, in my opinion, a great add-on. But once the 32X was introduced to the Sega Genesis, that's when the lifespan of the Genesis quickly came to an end. Because at the time, they developed the Sega Saturn and the 32X too quickly. When the Sega Genesis was fine on its own as a standalone system. And that's how it should have been. And that's the reason the system, its lifespan. Well, the system did have a long lifespan, but in a way, the arrival of 32X in 1994 and the arrival of Saturn in 1995 were the reason the Genesis had to be discontinued. And that's pretty sad, because this 16-bit system was truly one of my favorites. So many memories. So many great memories. From the first time I got the Genesis, from the blizzard of '96, and from April of '96. Sega Genesis was a great gaming system. And this was only the beginning for Sega. It was only the beginning. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about the Sega Saturn, another system that I had experiences with. Guys, thank you for joining me. And before I go, I want to leave you some classic Sega Genesis commercials. I know you've probably seen some of them I've posted, but you know what? These commercials are so great. I'm going to show them to you. These commercials are so great. They deserve the respect, and they deserve the honor of me showing.
And so it was, late in the 20th century, that a pox fell upon the land. A plague of home videos that were limited in intelligence. There was brain drain, and terminal boredom swept the countryside. The maker looked down and was not pleased by what he saw. He said, "This is not good." And so it was. He brought forth Genesis, a system with twice the power, twice the intelligence, twice the challenge, twice the fun. Only a chosen few were called forth to experience this new dimension of high-definition graphics and stereo sound. And the maker saw what he had done and said, "Now that's not bad. Discover Genesis, and your world will never be the same."
What's the hottest 16-bit video game system with true arcade games, great graphics, real challenge, stereo sound, and the hottest library too with games like Altered Beast,
Golden Axe, Super Hang-On, Forgotten World, Space Harrier 2, Revenge of Shinobi, Tommy Lasorda Baseball, Truxton, Last Battle, Arnold Palmer Tournament Golf, Super Thunderblade, Zoom, Thunder Force 2, Ghouls and Ghosts, Mystic Defender, Rambo 3, and more. Genesis from Sega. Genesis, the new generation in video games.
Who does the first ever 8-meg game, the ultimate in gameplay, voted Game of the Year? Who does the third generation of the hot arcade hit Shinobi and lifelike 16-bit graphics? Does. Who gives you 2 stereo speakers free so you hear the great stereo sound of Genesis? Just buy any 3 Sega Genesis brand games before March and get 2 stereo speakers free.
Dave Whitney wanted the real arcade games at home, so he got them. Mike Rogers wanted them too, but he got a Genesis system by Sega. Why? Check it out. Arcade screen left, Genesis screen right. If they look the same, you've answered correctly. Besides, Genesis has real-life action in sports games, flying games, and adventure games. The hottest library going. So if you want real arcade action, there's only 2 ways to get it.
Dave, we got your golden axe.
Or get Genesis by Sega. We bring the arcade experience home.
Baseball is my life. Gotta start Oz. Hot hitter.
Game time, Tommy.
I'm on my way. Hit away.
Bases loaded, Tommy. What do we do?
Bunt. Shift over. Dead full hitter. Double play. What a game. And even my friend Arnie's got a great game. And I get a kick out of soccer and new basketball.
Game's over, Tommy.
Ain't over till it's over. Genesis by Sega. It's a whole new ball game.
Genesis brings you the dazzling powers of the Mystic Warriors, the Ninja, in Revenge of Shinobi. And 16-bit arcade racing action with Super Monaco Grand Prix. 16-bit arcade combat, skills, strategy, reflex, and rivalry. Experience the ninja magic of Revenge of Shinobi and the exhilarating rush of Super Monaco Grand Prix for the Genesis system. Sega Genesis brings the arcade experience home. Genesis system and game sold. Genesis brings you the 16-bit arcade challenge with Ghostbusters. 16-bit thrills in Ghouls and Ghosts. And 16-bit arcade action with Forgotten Worlds. Gruesome ghosts, ferocious foes, battles of power, of magic and might. Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghostbusters, and Forgotten Worlds are for the Genesis system. Sega Genesis brings the arcade experience home. Game sold separate.
Genesis does.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
does.
Genesis
does.
Genesis
does.
Genesis
does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Columns free.
What Nintendo?
Buy a 16-bit Genesis system between now and October 31st and get an extra game free.
It's the Sega Summer Sizzle. Buy a Sega Genesis system before July 1st and get a free powered base converter. It lets you play over 120 Sega Master and Genesis games. You also get an extra Genesis game or 2 Sega Master games, up to an $80 value, free. Wait, you already own a Genesis system? Buy 2 Genesis games and choose either the power base converter, a 3rd Genesis game, or 2 Sega Master games, free. It's summer, dudes, and this is hot.
Sega. Genesis. Yo, it's Sega's Toe Jam and Earl. The hippin' is hoppin' party that's kicking around the world. It's giving it to you like it. Toe Jam and Earl is so funky, it'll make you scream like nothing ever before. Genesis is so much more. Toe Jam and Earl. 2 homeboys can play a different gig every time. Go get your win and you'll be in the hand. Genesis. You gotta get it. It's a whole lot more. Genesis.
What the heck was that? Forgot what I was gonna say.
Welcome to the next level.
Planet Earth, a scientist creates the ultimate machine.
At last!
A machine that will give him the power to journey into the mega world. with thousands of colors, 16-bit graphic technology, and 10-channel mega stereo sound. The most advanced video game system in the universe.
Yes!
Mega Drive from Sega.
Hi, Dad.
Where you been?
Jeff's house. New Genesis game. Kid Chameleon. 100 levels. 1,800 screens. Longest I've ever played.
That's good, son.
Every time I changed helmets, I was someone else.
That's nice, dear.
Skycutter, Cyclops, Juggernaut. I kept transforming.
Everybody's saying.
Can't. Later, Mom.
What's with him?
He's just having an identity crisis.
New Kid Chameleon, the multiple personality game, only on Sega Genesis.
Now, when you buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1, you'll get Sonic 2 absolutely free. Sonic 2 handles stubborn stains, embarrassing bald spots, no problem. It even slices and dices, makes thousands of julienne fries. But wait, you can play it too. This free Sonic 2 is a $54.99 value. You get 2 Sonics for the price of 1. Sonic 2 fits easily into any tackle box. Made from a space-age polymer plastic for years of family fun. And pets love it too. Buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1 and get Sonic 2 free.
Act now. Wiener Dog sweater sold separately.
Young Bobby Engels has a problem. He needs to earn the respect of his peers. So he gets Sega Genesis, the ultimate action system. And then he buys Mortal Kombat, the arcade edition, and the all-new Shinobi 3, and Marvel's X-Men. Now, things are pretty much okay.
I said chocolate chip. Say it. Say it.
Sega!
That happen?
That wasn't too bad, kid.
Pretend it's a game.
Cool. I heard Mac got a Sega Genesis. I heard Mac got a Sega Genesis.
Well, I guess one more is okay.
The Sega Genesis. Game cartridges sold separately.
When I play Terminator 2 with the Sega Menacer, I'm not afraid of deadly hunter-killers, the indestructible T-1000, endless endoskeletons, the evil Skynet. Nothing.
Bobby! Come give your Aunt Bertha a big kiss.
Well, almost nothing.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? And what if you don't have blast processing?
Sega! Now, when you buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1, you'll get Sonic 2 absolutely free. Sonic 2 handles stubborn stains, embarrassing bald spots, no problem. It even slices and dices, makes thousands of julienne fries. But wait, you can play it too. This free Sonic 2 is a $54.99 value. You get 2 Sonics for the price of 1. Sonic 2 fits easily into any tackle box. Made from a space-age polymer plastic for years of family fun. And pets love it too. Buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1 and get Sonic 2 free.
Act now. Wiener Dog sweater sold separately.
Imagine you wake up in Jurassic Park and you're a raptor. You have sharp teeth and 7-inch claws, and since you've been extinct for 65 million years, you'd be in a really bad mood.
System of game, sold separately.
NFL Football 94 starring Joe Montana features an all-new passing game, speed bursts, and real players. So how far did Sega go to understand these real players? Maybe too far. NFL Football 94. Sega Sports.
Sega!
This is what it's going to feel like. Sonic Spinball. It's coming.
Hear the sound razor-sharp adamantium claws make when they extract their revenge. They're here. Marvel's X-Men on Sega Genesis.
Welcome to the Big
Said he was going to be right back. He was normally a very quiet boy.
Eternal Champions is going to eat your old fighting games for lunch. It's got 9 huge warriors and over 315 moves. Bon appetit. Eternal Champions, only on Sega Genesis.
We went to the big guy.
We laid the whole thing out for him.
We told him we had this great idea for a new game called Sonic and Knuckles.
It's Knuckles in his own game. Plus it has new technology.
Lock-on technology.
So you can play Knuckles in Sonic 2 and 3.
It's revolutionary.
He just laughed at us. So we sold the whole thing to Sega?
Who's laughing now? Batman!
Sega Genesis 32.
Welcome to the next level.
If you had jalapenos and beans for every meal, you'd have an atomic butt blast too. Booger Man for Sega Genesis. Hey, boogers aren't his only weapon.
Wasn't me!
A bizarre crime has been committed. The public flabbergasted. Cops baffled. To John True Public, I say the scene is awful. Carnage, mayhem, despair, anarchy. The cool spots have been kidnapped, and only one spot is left to save his cohorts. He'll need your help. Make no mistake, you'll encounter crabs wearing underwear, demented cheese-slinging pajama mice, teeth with no head. But remember, that little cool spot is out there somewhere. You may be all he's got. Cool spot on Sega Genesis.
The designers of Sega's all-new NFL 95 wanted you to know what it feels like in a real NFL game. So they gave it the real teams, the real players, and a brand new feature that lets you see 65 yards downfield, just like in real life.
Go, Dave, go!
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, Mr. Montana.
There's even a new trading feature.
I just bought a house.
Hand me the sacred spice, Lieutenant.
Take it, but leave my ultravision goggles. I cannot survive without them.
So you want to live in a comic book?
Greetings, puny mortals.
Welcome to the Comic Zone. Slave fiendish villains that get drawn back in, page by page. You'll feel right at home.
From the darkness of the oven, the slave beast.
We will live another day.
Comic Zone, only for Sega Genesis. Comic Zone game cartridge and Sega Genesis, each sold separately.
Magneto has arrived. Only in X-Men 2 for Sega Genesis. Now 2 can play the most mutant heroes. And Magneto. Sega! Marvel's X-Men 2 for Sega Genesis. Hardware and game cartridge, each sold separately.
Do unto others as others do unto you.
New Vectorman 2, only on Sega Genesis.